Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2017 Bridgewater's Finest Movie Awards, and this is the main event of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday, and it is time for the top 10 best movies of 2017. If you've been with us this long, you might as well ride it out, because now it gets to the important stuff. Whereas in the last video, you got to saw me pretend to be Tommy Wiseau, and we knuckled up against the internet for hating on Justice League. Now you get the real cream of the cinematic crop, if you will, in 2017. But first, as promised, we're going to talk about the movies that you liked. More specifically, as we mentioned in the previous video, I at least, have been basically polling people all year. Hey, what was your favorite movie of 2017? We had some really interesting answers, some really interesting responders. As a matter of fact, we have, let's see, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We had 15 different movies that were stated at one time or another were someone's favorite movie each time that I kind of polled. And then we took those movies, basically, did some voting, and this is your fan-voted best movies of 2017. Are you ready? I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You ready? Let's do this. Let's see how quickly it is before Tyler's brain explodes.
When does it go off the rails?
Exactly.
Transformers.
So at the bottom, we had a four-way tie with 2.2% of the fan vote for Captain Fantastic.
Really?
Yeah, which would have been a cheater, I think.
Okay.
Girls Trip.
Okay.
Murder on the Orient Express.
It's weird.
And Jumanji. Yeah. Interesting reactions.
It's funny.
The Jumanji one is the one that kind of strikes me, because like I didn't expect to like Jumanji at all, and I was like, this is entertaining. Yeah, it's not gonna touch anything.
This might be, and I'm saying this on purpose. Mm-hmm. It could be the People's Champ movie. because
The Rock says
everyone I talked to, which has only been a few people, have really liked Jumanji.
Yeah.
Like, you take away the movie snobbery that we have. Oh, we're less snobby than a lot of, like, film.
Well, I know I am.
Well, I'm a little snob. But, you take all that shit away, and all Jumanji is a fun movie, and people want that, right? When they don't go to the movies all the time. Fun fact, my boss was like, I saw Jumanji. Like, yeah, what'd you think? He's like, I liked it more than Star Wars. Is that weird? And I was like, don't know. I haven't seen it. Then I saw it, and I told him. He's like, so, was I off base? I'm like, I don't agree, but you're not that off base. Really.
I don't think either one of us saw Captain Fantastic.
No, I didn't. I kind of meant to last year, but I didn't realize that could be classified as a cheater.
I guess. Like, I didn't really do a deep cuts on it. It's just somebody voted on it, and I looked it up, and I was like, all right, I suppose that can count. Maybe it didn't get a full theatrical until like January 2nd.
Yeah, maybe it did. That was a weird one to me, because I don't know off the top of my head if it would qualify in our eyes, but...
Like Murder on the Orient Express, I can see how that could have been someone's favorite movie. You may not have seen a ton of movies this year, and that's not a criticism or not trying to be derisive, but like I can see how you would have like really, really enjoyed that movie. I can get that.
See, with Jumanji I can. With that's weird to me. I mean, good for them, whoever it was. Like, whatever, but that like Jumanji I can, Murder I can't.
Girls Trip, I can't.
See,
that one I can't.
I haven't seen it, but that was getting mad love.
It was, yeah, you're right. It was.
I can see that one.
I compared it to that one that had Scarlett Johansson. Yeah, Rough Night, and I was like, it's better than Rough Night. Again, this is why this is your call.
Yeah, this is already an interesting.
Yeah, this is already an interesting list. After that, we have another 4-way tie, all tying with 4.3% of the vote for Thor Ragnarok.
Okay.
3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, The Disaster Artist, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
None of those surprise me.
None of those are shocking at all.
No,
Maybe that The Disaster Artist was someone's favorite movie of the year.
That doesn't surprise me.
But I guess it's not. I guess it's not so much surprising. And I mean, the superhero movies obviously are not surprising at all. And 3 Billboards is not surprising at all. I can totally see how that could be.
3 Billboards kind of in those strikes me as like the cool pick, like the person who watches maybe more movies than a normal person.
Right.
Like that's more casual, and it's like they're more knowledgeable. I hate to say that, but.
Up next, we have a 3-way tie. This would be a 3-way tie for what would be 5th place. The previous one would have been a 4-way tie for 8th. So if you're thinking like in terms of a top 10, then in that. So we're looking at a 3-way tie for 5th place between, with 6.5% of the vote. So we have yet to even hit a movie that's hit 10% of the vote. 3-way tie at 6.5% of the vote between Spider-Man: Homecoming, The Big Sick, and It. I can't say that it's none of those are shocking. Maybe The Big Sick because it was clearly like head and shoulders the lowest budgeted movie of any of them.
Yeah, but it's also
and some people just like big budget for the sake of big budget.
It's also the biggest surprise of the bunch, where it's like, and it's getting so much love. So that doesn't surprise me.
In 4th place, with 8.7% of the vote, is Wonder Woman.
That's not at all.
Not a big surprise. Thank you to the people that appreciate some DC. They're getting some DC in their life.
Yeah, see, none of the superhero movies surprise me because really it just comes to like the characters you like or whatever. Like
it's true.
Like a lot of my movies have in the last video, well, at the end, started to get into like those superhero movies and stuff more so.
Absolutely.
Like, none of those surprise me.
In 3rd place, with 10.9% of the vote. So 10%.
Baby Driver.
Get Out.
Yeah.
So people showing Get Out some love. It doesn't surprise me that it's there. Like you said, you think that it's kind of overrated.
I do.
And I can see where that's coming from. But Get Out. A lot of people showing it love.
None of these are surprising me. The first 4 were interesting. Like the first 4-way tie were really interesting. These are like, I can see it.
Yeah, for sure. Number 2, with 15.2% of the vote, is Baby Driver. And I know that's another one that you're like, I don't buy it.
It's overrated. Yeah. It's just not.
And like I kind of said, it's like, it's not Edgar Wright at his best. But at the same time, I thought it was really enjoyable.
I feel very alone right now. It was like, Get Out's overrated.
Well,
it's like the audience would give me that one just because so we can only say it about one, and then the next one is it's overrated. Yeah. Okay, now 2 are overrated, and then I'm sure this number 1 is overrated.
I was gonna say, get used to it. The number 1 fan favorite movie of 2017 on the 2017 Bridgewater's Finest Movie Awards with 19.6% of the vote. First place, Dunkirk. Yeah, I think we both kind of feel this way. But look, I didn't dislike Dunkirk. I mentioned it in this as an honorable mention. I didn't dislike it. I just thought, you know what? It's not its own best version, and I wanted more from it. There's a better version of that movie to be made, and maybe in 20, 25 years we might get it. But not from Christopher Nolan, obviously, but from somebody. At the same time, I can't say that it surprises me.
The last 2 don't surprise me.
No, that they are where they are because, a lot of people really, really loved Dunkirk. So there you have it, folks. Those are your fan-voted,
You're all wrong.
fan-favorite movies of the year for 2017. And according to this guy, who's always right as per our agreement, you're wrong. All right, folks, here we go. Time for our top 10. Time to get this going. We've already done a sufficient job of making you feel bad about your picks. Now you get to return the favor and make us feel bad about ours. My number 10 best movie of 2017 is Spider-Man Homecoming.
Spider-Man.
And you obviously mentioned it earlier in the previous video. You liked it quite a bit. Apparently, I liked it a lot more. You know, my first thought with the movie when I'm watching it is like it's a cleaned up it's entertaining like Deadpool, except obviously squeaky clean version of Deadpool, not at all the same kind of comedy, but sort of entertaining almost to the same level. So cleaned up Deadpool meeting like a more relatable Ant-Man, because if that's my one criticism about Ant-Man, it's like I'm not interested in this. Not that I relate to Ant-Man or relate to Spider-Man really as much of anyway.
That's how you climb walls.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been falling off them and hurting my bad knees. But like that's what I felt. I was like, okay, it's a cleaned up Deadpool. It's a more relatable Ant-Man. I feel like Homecoming, within the context of the MCU, not only does exactly what the MCU does best, and exactly what a Spider-Man movie should do, which is be lighthearted, but at the same time be a superhero movie and do all the things a superhero movie should do. Homecoming, within the context of the MCU, kind of has a couple of noteworthy accomplishments. I feel kind of better grounds the MCU with its protagonist. Like it's more grounded, it's more kind of down to earth rather than Thor in Asgard and Iron Man with the suit of power and the Hulk, this giant green whatever. No, Spider-Man is just a kid that got bit by a spider. That's it. And all he does is fly around, and he has no real superpowers to speak of, and aside from his sense. But it's just like, no, he's grounded. He's a very real person who, and especially as he's portrayed by Tom Holland, he's a very real person. Like he even says kind of in interviews, he's like, I'm just a 15-year-old that got this, and how do you think a 15-year-old who got this is going to react? And that's very much how he portrays the character in this movie. And it also gives us instances of tension and stakes. You mentioned them before, the scene in the car, which is just a really excellent kind of tense scene where he's just basically like, if you don't stop trying to stop me, I'm going to kill you. Tom Holland's really good. Michael Keaton's really good. Marissa Tomei is really good as his mother. Robert Downey Jr. is excellent in the movie. He kind of felt like maybe in the last couple of Iron Man standalones, like maybe he's kind of phoning it in and kind of getting tired of playing this character. He's really good as Tony Stark in this movie, so maybe he's kind of coming back around on a little bit. And they didn't waste our time with trying to retell the origin again.
Yeah.
Like if the origin is here, they dropped us here. Where it's like, it's still fairly new to him, but it's not the origin. So I really liked that element of it. Doesn't break a lot of new ground, but it contributes to the MCU in a really solid way. At a rating of 85 out of 100, Spider-Man Homecoming, my number 10 best movie of 2017.
There's still like, and there was a scene that they showed in the trailer when the people were trying to rob the bank. No.
Yeah.
And he's like,
yeah, it's like an ATM.
What's up, guys? I love that line got like laughing at me every time.
Wait,
like,
you're not the Hulk.
Like, yeah, you're not the Avengers. So my number 10. I'm not gonna talk much about it because we've talked about it, but it's Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman.
So the ladies got the superhero that they needed.
Yeah.
And we all benefited from it because it is a very, very, very good movie. Just fun. I really, we've talked about shit, so I don't have anything to add because I've talked about the performance because I gave her an award for it. It was already in your list, so you talked about it, and then I said some stuff that I probably could have saved for mine. But so Wonder Woman, the praises have been sung all year since it got released.
It's true. How do you feel about the villain?
Fine.
Yeah, because we kind of talked about like, hey, weak villains are a genre.
I like the crazy scientist. What was
Oh God, yeah, the woman.
I actually kind of wish we would have seen more of her because she was cool. But yeah,
Dr. McBurnface.
Yeah.
And I mean, she didn't technically kill her, so is it possible that character or like the offspring of that character might come back? Who knows? It's possible.
This might be the best origin story. I was excited for it once I saw a trailer. I was like, okay, this looks really cool. But like, I wanted to see Wonder Woman mingle like contemporary heroes, right? Like
questions. I'm sorry, that was really funny. Sorry,
with like Batman and them, right? So to see a movie that takes place back then, I wasn't real amped for because I was like, yeah, but now she's not involved with them. You know, I wanted to see her in that time period, and they didn't do that. But despite that, I still really liked it. I don't even know what Jenkins has done before Wonder Woman, to be honest. But, so she put herself on the map for me because she did a really good job.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, my number 10 is Wonder Woman.
My number 9, best movie of 2017. Tyler talked about it a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
I was wrong.
I agree with you when you said you know what? Hey, Guardians 1 is a better movie.
Sure is.
I agree. The way that I would describe Volume 2 is it's a tremendously worthy sequel.
Yeah.
And even now, I didn't leave the movie feeling this way, and even now I don't feel like, oh man, that being the sequel is a failure of the first, or a failure to the first movie. It's a worthy sequel, for sure. Like you said, there's more comedy. That's less effective per capita, because I think the first movie is funnier. You look at the second movie, and the emotional content in the second movie, I would say, is much higher than in the first movie, and sticks with you longer than the first movie. I still think Volume 1 is a better movie, arguably a more entertaining movie. Volume 2 may be slightly more complete because of that emotional content that you didn't necessarily get in the first one, but you really got a lot more of in the second one, with Peter and his father, and with even like a little bit with Drax, and like with Groot and Rocket, and like I just feel like there's more emotional content there in the second one, and I feel like it makes the second one a little bit more complete. I think this is among the most well-rounded movies in the MCU. At a rating of 85 out of 100, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is my number 9 best movie of 2017.
Right on, man. My number 9 is a little movie that didn't break any records called It.
Nice.
Yeah, so I already said in a previous video that I was just not expecting much. I didn't even care if I saw it. I had no plans to see it. I didn't really care. Then I saw it. It was great.
Yeah.
Pennywise was so good. It wasn't scared to do anything. Like, it mangled that kid at the beginning. Like, you're watching it, it's like, alright, well, this kid's gonna die. We know this. Mm-hmm. But it was like, yeah, I'm gonna rip off his arm, and you're gonna watch the blood. Yeah. Like, that was awesome. Like, anytime a kid dies in a movie is great.
I can't believe Bill Skarsgård can do that with his mouth.
Yeah. Well directed.
Yes.
The thing.
Andy Machete.
Andy Machete. The thing I like about it is, like, conversations I had with people afterwards, because some people were a little disappointed because they didn't find it real scary. And, like, I don't know if I found it, like, super scary, per se, because it didn't rely on jump scares.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Like, to me, it's like a monster having that much fun while he's stalking you is so scary to me, because he's not just like, I'm a scary face, he's like, hey, I'm dancing, and you're gonna die. So, like, I don't like when horror movies rely on jump scares, and this certainly did.
No, me either.
So even when a moment wasn't scary, like all the blood in the bathroom really wasn't a scary part,
right? But
it was so visually interesting that, like, I was never like, oh, this isn't scary, move on. I was just like, no, this is just interesting to watch. Like, it's a gorgeous movie. I did
you nailed it.
I did nail it. Now Pennywise is in our videos.
Pennywise, yeah, exactly.
They don't get that, but so yeah, my number 9 is It.
It's possible that my next pick may cause Tyler to get up
To
and
die.
leave.
I may die.
No, but you might get up and leave. My number 8 best movie of 2017 is Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Now this will put me right in line with the critics, and it will probably get me my credit card back. But it does not put me in line with most of the internet. And you know what? I'm okay with that. Here's my full disclosure about Episode 8. I, like many other people, wanted the movie to go in a different direction. And I didn't get that. And that is difficult to get over sometimes. And in some ways, I felt that this movie was more samey than Force Awakens. And that was one of the big criticisms about Force Awakens, is like, it's just the same thing. It's just A New Hope. But like I did with Blade Runner, I invested a second watch in Star Wars. And a lot of people can be like, I can't do that. I can't give that movie another 2.5 hours.
I can't.
And another $15. So I invested a second viewing in it, and the second viewing, like it was with Blade Runner, the second viewing helped me so much because I knew what was coming, and I just approached it with, let's take this for what it is, rather than take it as, because I'm just talking about my own subjective experience here. The first time I watched the movie, I took it and compared it to what I wanted it to be. That's my fault as a viewer. But I mean, like, everyone I think does that, at least to a certain extent. So the second time I watched it, it's like reading a book. The first time you read a book for pleasure, the second time you really kind of do a deep dive into it. So the first time I watched it through the lens of my expectations. And the second time I watched it, I just watched it for what it was. And once I watched it for what it was, stop it. Once I watched it for what it was, it really helped me come to a place of really appreciating the movie a lot more. And I cannot recommend strongly enough, especially if you like vehemently disliked the movie, try it. Try watching it a second time. I know you didn't vehemently dislike it, but yeah, exactly. So I mean, like, but like I have a friend who shall remain nameless, but she really did not like the movie. Like, looked at the movie like it was the worst movie of the year. That's the kind of person I'd be like, you gotta watch that movie again without your expectations. Yeah, so I can't get on board with that.
I don't know how you can
for sure
look at something so competently made and actually think it was like the worst movie of the year.
It's like, for what the movie is, the movie does a bunch of fun and cool stuff we've never seen in Star Wars movies before. Even the stuff that the first time around, I'm like, I don't think that's how the Force works. Like, you can watch that through the second time and like, okay, if I accept that that's how the Force works, that's actually kind of cool. And that's something that I've never seen before in a Star Wars movie. There were a few sparse moments in the movie that did, even the second time around, kind of take me out of it. Like, I mean, that whole scene on the casino planet, while not as bad as I thought it was the first time around, still kind of takes me out of it because I'm like, there wasn't much point in you guys going there. Like, I mean, so, you know, there's still stuff like that. But I firmly believe that this is a movie that if you take it as it is, not how you wished it would be, that it's a pretty good movie. So at a rating of 85 out of 100, Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, my number 8 best movie of 2017.
Right, so there's these reactions, right? Like, oh, this movie's so subversive. And I'm like, how is this movie subversive? Like, even if it does something neat, like let me just, like, the way the character arcs play out, right? Like, they're talking about all the twists and stuff, and I guess there's like some twists or whatever, and that's fine. Yeah. But these subversions and twists end up to the same kind of, like, the same destination as every Star Wars movie does.
Uh-huh. Like,
I saw it mentioned that they didn't go the easy route and have Kylo kill Leia, and so that was cool. But they wouldn't have killed Leia anyway, because it's Star Wars. So that wasn't a subversion. They didn't throw it out like Finn was going to sacrifice himself, but then Rose sacrificed herself. How is not killing a main character a subversion? They weren't going to kill Finn. Right. So, like, we saw it coming. Rey and Kylo end up in the same spots that you would expect. Like, there's just nothing, like, yeah, it's okay. People thought that Snoke was going to be a bigger deal than he was. But all through Star Wars history, the big guy has always been killed by the underling. Like, I guess maybe I'm missing something. I just don't understand how this movie's so subversive. And it's, again, coming from a guy that actually enjoys the movie.
Right.
For what it is.
Yeah, subversion, I wouldn't.
I don't see, I can't actually, I just can't fathom it. The Yoda and Luke scene was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I like that scene a lot. There were some funny jokes, but I feel like they shoehorned in way too many jokes. And they killed the flow. And, like, some scene that should have had more depth or more oomph to it didn't, because they're like, let's have a joke.
Yeah.
Because apparently we need jokes all the time,
right?
Which annoys the fuck out of me. The thing that annoys the fuck out of me the most, Captain Phasma was done dirty again.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's like, alright, so she rolls up. She's like, yeah, let's do this, right? Oh, I'm beating Finn. Look, Finn falls down. We know he's not dead. We know he's coming back. So then Finn comes up. He's like, oh, there you go, Phasma.
He's like, yo, what up?
See ya.
Boom.
And that annoyed me so much. Like, why couldn't a Phasma at least just killed that girl?
Right.
I didn't expect Finn to die because they wanted to, I knew they wouldn't.
Right.
That would have been cool if they would have. Imagine Phasma just kills Finn. Yo, what up? See you,
true.
Finn.
Yeah, that's true.
That would have been cool. But the fact that you can kill this nobody only to have her come back and sacrifice herself, which was actually kind of stupid. But, I just...
Well,
why
that's
do
the
they
thing.
do
I
that?
don't think she's dead. Because they're trying to shoehorn in the romance when we all know that Finn and Poe are gay lovers.
Yeah.
That's the relationship that everyone is shipping from.
Like, I was mostly negative here, but, the movie looks really good. There's some really great scenes, some good jokes, like I said. It's ultimately an entertaining movie. It really doesn't deserve the love or the hate that it's getting, depending on which side you're on, right?
Right.
If you're the critics or the fans. It was better than A Force Awakens, because I these new Star Wars aren't my jam. But they're still fun.
Yeah.
So, whatever, I'll still watch them. I'm just less excited now.
Fair enough. Just as I'm finished talking about, like, oh, my expectations let me down for this movie, let's talk about my expectations for the next one. So, this is my fan theory, which is everyone else seems to have a fan theory, but this is kind of
Boba Fett comes back.
Yeah, this is kind of what I'm looking for in the third one. First of all, Phasma. I think it's pretty, or hopefully should be pretty clear at least, that Phasma's not dead. Before she fell into that pit, because, I mean, look, there's no sense in saying, like, ooh, spoilers, it's fucking Star Wars, you've all seen it. So she falls into that pit. The only part of her suit that's damaged is the eye. So, and literally 15 seconds before that, her suit showed the ability to deflect laser blasts.
Oh, yeah.
So she fell into a big fiery pit, but as long as she landed on something that was not space, she should be, I don't think she's dead. I think she fell through that fire pit, her eye's gonna be all fucked up, but she's still alive.
But she's a
She
joke
might not have,
now.
and so far she's been a joke.
Like, if
Through
she comes
2
back,
movies.
it's like, oh, look, there she is again.
Yeah, she's still, but like this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for her to come back in the third movie without the mask, her face is fucked up, and she finally has the fight with Finn that we all want to see. In the third movie, for Phasma to be the badass that we have wanted Phasma to be for 2 movies now. So if they give us that, it doesn't excuse the first 2. It doesn't excuse how they've done her dirty, because you're absolutely right. They've done her dirty for the last 5 hours of Star Wars movies. But it would at least be something at this point. J.J. Abrams can salvage that.
But you know what she is at this point? Kenny from South Park. Like, that's what she is. So, like, and so there's...
Oh my god, that is so good. And at the risk of turning this video into Star Wars talk, the last
Phasma especially.
Yeah, exactly. But this is the other thing, the other point that I wanted to make, and it's the point about Snoke. And I know I've made it to you, so it may be aggravating for you to hear.
No, it ain't aggravating to me.
And look, I could be totally wrong about this. Maybe Snoke's just done, and they're just like, nope, moving on to somebody else. Here's my theory on Snoke. But now I'm gonna know better. I'm gonna know better than to go into the next movie being like, if this doesn't meet my expectations, it's automatically bad. So I know, I know enough now not to do this. Snoke is Darth Plagueis. As Darth Plagueis, he's the most powerful Sith that has ever existed. He allowed Chancellor Palpatine, as was revealed in Revenge of the Sith, to believe that he had killed him. Because Palpatine was Plagueis' apprentice. He tells that story. He taught his apprentice everything he knew, and then his apprentice killed him in his sleep. Which seems like, is the most powerful Sith gonna die in his sleep? Does that make sense? Whatever, like, oh, well, whatever. Anakin's about to become Darth Vader, we don't really care about this. So, he allowed him because that's what the Sith has to do. The Sith has to kill his master to take the last step to becoming a Sith Lord, quote unquote. He then basically fades off into, not obscurity, but backs off and is like, let my Sith do their thing. Palpatine brings in Anakin Skywalker. Because of his metachlorians are off the scale, he's the ultimate Jedi and we turned him to the dark side. Vader does ultimately kill his master, but only after he's been turned back to the light. Spoilers for Return of the Jedi.
Shit.
I guess. Palpatine, or not Palpatine, sorry, Plagueis, who obviously is not dead, from somewhere is watching all of this because he's like, I am the Sith Master. I want to see the Siths rise and become the ultimate power in the universe. So Plagueis watches this, but he watches the Sith fall apart, right? Because you think at the end of Return of the Jedi, there's no Sith left. Because Palpatine is dead, the Emperor is dead, and Darth Vader is dead. He's been turned back to the light by his son, and now there are only the Jedi. Bullshit. There are always Sith, as long as one Sith remains. And throughout that entire series, one Sith did remain. It was Darth Plagueis. Darth Plagueis waits and waits and waits because he knows he cannot destroy Luke Skywalker. He has to wait and wait and bide his time until Luke Skywalker either dies thinking there are no Sith left, or is in a weakened state enough on his own that maybe Plagueis and the Sith can re-rise. That comes to fruition because you have Ben Solo. And you have Ben Solo, you have the potential, all the strength, something truly special. He says it in the movie. Something truly special. So Plagueis comes back as Snoke. And this is his opportunity to finally obliterate the Jedi. Because Luke Skywalker's emo. He's on his little emo island. And there are no other Jedi. So he comes back and he takes Ben Solo as his apprentice. Ben Solo, you are Kylo Ren. And as Kylo Ren, you will find Luke Skywalker and you will finish him off. And now you have Rey, who is, and he can sense when he finally has Rey in front of him, he's like, you're a Jedi. I can't beat you. You have become a Jedi. You have become Luke Skywalker's next Jedi. He says, okay, you're a Jedi. So what do I have to do? I have to allow my apprentice to think he has killed me, because that is the only way for him to become a Sith Lord. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to let him. I feel him do that, and he's doing whatever, and he does it. I have to let him think he's killed me, just like I did with Palpatine. And you can tell, like, look, yeah, cool, he kills Snoke, but he's not on the side of the light. You can see that when right afterwards he talks to Rey and he's like, no, but we can rule together. And that's the Sith. That's the Sith side of things. And Rey's like, don't do this. Like, oh my God, like, no, that's not how this is gonna work. In my brain, in my insane, I feel like a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. In my insane brain, this is not over yet. That could be my pitch. I hope I get to direct the next movie.
Hey everybody. everybody. This was Star Wars conversation with mostly Justin. So, see ya.
See, peace.
This is the thing, right? You went on that whole thing.
Yeah.
And this is my rebuttal.
Okay.
I think you're wrong.
Yeah.
But with that said,
I think I'm wrong too. I'm gonna be totally honest. This is just what I want.
See, the shitty thing is about these movies is that they clearly do not know what they are doing. This is not the MCU.
You're right.
Where it's planned.
You're right.
To like whatever degree. I mean, I'm sure they change some things on the fly. I'm sure they do. Like these guys don't know what they're doing. Like J.J. Abrams did his thing, and everyone's just like, nah, retcon. And then J.J. Abrams is coming back. He's like, and now he has a reason to retcon. He's like, you fucking retconned my shit.
Yeah, exactly.
J.J. Abrams may come and be like, let's make that true. So you could be right, but I don't think. And even if that happens, I do not think that was the plan. Honestly, I want Darth Nihilus in it, but I know he's never going to show up. And maybe in 2 years, it is, and you can be like, you were right. You were right. And I was wrong.
But
I was right.
I was right, and you were right, wrong.
My number 8 is a movie that sucks. War for the Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
Now, this is a movie that
sucks.
That kind of my love of it diminished a tad.
Okay.
Over time, because I remember when we first saw it, I was like, this might be the best movie of the year. But as time went on, I was like, it's not. Now when we did, because I think we did a video that year when Dawn came out. I feel like I feel like I did Dawn a little dirty because I didn't give it enough love. Because over time, Dawn has become, like, Dawn is so good. My problem with it is only that it slows down a little bit at a certain point that I but I started to check out a little bit.
Okay.
Until it came back around and I was like, alright, cool, we good. Besides that small pacing issue there's not really a serious issue with this movie at all. It's for... You had talked about it when you gave Matt Reeves the best director?
Yep.
You had talked about the movie a fair bit and what he did, and I agree with everything, and Caesar is fucking cool, and I'm not going to talk anymore about it because I bet you it's on your list.
This is part of the thing when it gets to this point.
Yeah.
It's like, if I haven't mentioned that movie yet...
there's movies that we know, oh shit, the person didn't mention it, so now it's just kind of like,
Exactly. It doesn't come together 30 to 11, but once the top 10 starts, it starts coming together. Yeah. My number 7, my lucky number 7 movie of 2017 is Baby Driver. Because I actually dug this movie, I think, significantly more than I did. Because I love Edgar Wright. And sometimes, even when it's, and again, I've said it multiple times now, it's not Edgar Wright's best. It's not his best. It's not his most stylish. But sometimes you just have to give yourself over to the essence of cool. This movie struck me, you know what it struck me as? It struck me as a more stylish James Dean movie. Yeah, you just gotta kind of give yourself over to, like, the essence of cool, and that whole shot where he's going to get the coffee. And I mean, I know it's, like, even the scene before, like, the very first chase scene. It's just like, even though they kind of, not spoil, but they give away, like, arguably the coolest moment in that chase scene in the trailer, and that's fine when he's, like, drifting around the garbage trucks. That's fine, because there's still so much more in that chase scene that's just like, yes, alright, this is awesome. But that whole scene where he's just, like, going to get the coffee, and he's just going to his music, and you can, it's just setting up right there that, and, like, in those two scenes that, like, the music is so important, and the way the characters interact with each other and the way the characters are on their own, like, it just struck me as that one of those movies where you just give yourself up to the essence of cool, and that's the best way that I can describe it. It's just like, this movie is just going to be cool and stylish and fun, and there's going to be a little bit more to it, kind of like the whole Bonnie and Clyde story. I love the cast. but I still feel like Jamie Foxx and John Bernthal were miscast. And they should have been cast, their roles should have been reversed. Because Jamie Foxx winds up having a much bigger role than does John Bernthal, and I just would have liked to see John Bernthal get that much screen time, to be perfectly honest.
A beast.
Yeah, no, it's true. Ham absolutely delivers. Yeah. Kevin Spacey, we have to tread lightly here. In the context of, again, Chris Benoit argument all over again. His performance was excellent. He was really good. And again, the movie's all about music. The movie is all about the music. The cues, the gunshots timed to the beats and the music. Again, not a unique thing to Edgar Wright. It's been done before. It's arguably been done better, but it was still really good. I don't think it's been
done better.
No? All right, there you go.
No, that's the one, real...
The one feather in the cap.
Real praise that I will level on that. I don't think it's been done better.
Regardless of the fact, or irregardless of the fact, I suppose, that it's not Edgar Wright at his best, at a rating of 85 out of 100, Baby Driver is my number 7 best movie of 2017.
So my main issue is that, and what made me give it a 70 ultimately, for those wondering, I gave it a 70, which is good on my scale, just not great.
Right.
There's a huge lull at one point, which I can't remember what that is, because I don't remember the movie that much. But there apparently was a lull that took me out of the movie, and it was way too long, so I just wasn't that invested, and that detracted a lot of points from it, because when there's a large portion of a movie that you're just not feeling, you got to account for that. I don't know, I really wanted to like Baby Driver. My problem was, from the first trailer I saw, I was like, this isn't, everyone was like, oh, this looks awesome, and I'm like, I don't know if this is for me. And then I saw a second trailer, I'm like, that's a better trailer, I'm getting more excited.
Yep.
I like the second trailer more, and then when I saw the movie, I was like, it's fine.
What's your lucky 7, Tyler?
My lucky 7 was a big audible, actually, because this was originally my number 10.
I love when this guy calls audibles.
I called audibles on the daily here. Not really, but anyway, mine is John Wick Chapter 2.
Ooh.
It wasn't my number 10, it's my number 7, because I heard you talking about John Wick 2, and I was like, I like John Wick 2 more than these other movies that were, in fact, I could probably have put it up a couple more. John Wick is so good. Done.
Yeah.
I actually think it's better than the first one. It's escalating well. I like that they had more assassins in this one.
Yeah.
The action is still top of its class. So I'm really excited for 3. And I'm also excited, I just learned today, that they are making a TV show.
Yes.
Based on the Continental, which I'm actually excited for.
Yeah.
John Wick is special. John Wick is they're 2 completely different types of action movies, but it's kind of a Die Hard thing going on, where it's you look forward to the next one. Although Die Hard went off the rails, but the first couple, they're fun. Yeah, John Wick Chapter 2 is my lucky number 7.
Nice. I figured John Wick was coming somewhere. I actually kind of thought it would be top 5 for you, because I know how much you love that gun fu.
It could have been. We're at this point now where I could call audible on these.
Yeah.
And just shift them.
It's true.
But for the integrity of the list, I'm trying not to call too many audibles. Plus, it's confusing.
My number 6 best movie of 2017 is Thor Ragnarok. I really loved Thor Ragnarok, and part of why I loved it so much is the fact that it is head and shoulders, and it's not a close competition between which of the 3 is the best standalone Thor movie. It's not close. It's not competitive. That first one, I think I gave a 70.
It's okay.
Which is on my rating scale, it's I had fun with this, and that's it. And The Dark World was better, but not great.
They've been improving, but this was a drastic improvement.
Shout out to my boy YTT, because he nailed it. You had a brief but excellent cameo in the movie from Doctor Strange.
Oh, yeah, that was unexpected.
It was unexpected, and it was really well done.
Yeah.
You had a degree of comedy that, for one, I expected the movie to be funny, because you can tell that the movie's going to be funny from the trailer. But I expected most of the comedy to revolve around Loki.
Yeah.
And that, to me, would have gotten tiresome. Not because I don't like Tom Hiddleston or I don't like the Loki character, but it just, I think, would have gotten tiresome for me. I think maybe the amount of comedy that was in it might have weighed on you a little bit more than it did on me, because I felt like it stopped short of being overbearing for not being a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, which is like I full well agree with you where it's like that's a comedy movie first and a superhero movie second. Villain specifically Hela, who had stakes attached to them, obviously with the Ragnarok being the destruction of Asgard, even though the primary stake gets undercut. And again, I go on the assumption that it's an MCU movie, everyone's seen it. So the primary stake is Asgard gets destroyed. That gets undercut by the fact that, well, Asgard is inside of all of us. I was like, okay, so I guess it doesn't matter if Asgard gets destroyed.
Later, Asgard.
So it's like, it undercuts it. But at the same time, up until that point, Hela still has stakes attached to her because she's taken over Asgard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Asgard has the Infinity Gauntlet, or had it for a while. So it's like that's major stakes there. You're starting to see the win, and I can sense that there's something maybe that you want to say. So I want no. All right, I kind of want to finish up. You're kind of seeing now. You're starting to see the winds of change in the MCU starting to kind of come to the surface, even if it's in slower, like kind of smaller ways, which is good because we know that change is coming because this wave is about to be over. I'm still kind of concerned that we're running out of time for the build to Infinity War, but we also still have Black Panther, which I think is going to play a huge part. But I mean, look, this was fantastic. I kind of expected Thor Ragnarok to do more in the build towards that. Doesn't look like it did. But at a rating of 85 out of 100, Thor Ragnarok, my number 6 best movie of 2017.
Thor Ragnarok is a good movie. I already talked about it, so I don't want to talk about it again.
It's true.
So, good pick. My number 6 is I'm Cuckoo for Coco.
Nice.
Yeah, Coco's a great animated movie.
Oh, God.
Yeah. One of the finest ones Pixar has done since WALL-E.
Yeah.
Beautiful, emotional, great animation,
Yeah.
stuff for the adults, stuff for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
There's like some pretty profound scenes in there. I wouldn't say that it's a level of Kubo and how profound it kind of is, but it gets close. Everything about it is really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really all I got.
I know, it's like...
I'm trying to keep it a little simple.
Like, kind of a loss for words, almost, because it's like, I know, certainly for me, again, my expectations were not to love it.
Yeah.
Right? My expectations were like, yeah, okay, sure, I'll probably like this. I'll probably like this even a little bit. And it was much more than that. So that is more than worthy of being a top. Well, that was 6 for you.
Yeah.
So that's more than. I'm certainly worthy of being a top 10 movie on the year, no doubt about it. Matter of fact, I would question the legitimacy of your list if it wasn't in the top 10.
Last comment: it treats its themes with a tremendous amount of respect. You could tell that this was a real labor of love for the Mexican people, but also the world, but mostly the Mexican people.
Yeah, to kind of add substance, and this is something I hadn't really thought of until right now. To kind of add substance to Dias de la Muerta, like not just because I think the white perception of the Day of the Dead is just like, oh, it's a big party where they all get dressed up and drink tequila in the streets because that's what we saw in that James Bond movie. It's like, no, like it's literally their day to honor their dead, and the whole concept of the ofrenda being kind of at the forefront of it was like, no, this is the significance. Like if you're gonna talk about the Day of the Dead, you can't talk about the Day of the Dead without talking about the ofrenda.
Yeah, I love the Day of the Dead, even though I'm not Mexican, because I love everything about it. I love because for example, when Halloween comes around up here. Right, obviously, putting on costumes and going to get candy is a great thing and stuff. But I always do the same thing. Halloween, I always post a song by Killing Joke that's about like Hallows Eve and stuff, about the spiritual side of Halloween. Because North America, we don't really focus a lot on that aspect of Halloween, where it's like it is literally also just a time to remember your loved ones. It's not just to go candy and all that stuff, which is also cool because candy's cool. So that's what I love, because I love that Day of the Dead is like so upfront about that in a way that we aren't.
My number 5 best movie of 2017 is one that takes one off the board that you thought at least at one point had an outside shot to be my number 1 movie of the year, and that is The Zookeeper's Wife. Zookeeper's Wife, Jessica Chastain, in basically the lead role. Well, would be the titular role, because that is the title.
Wife.
She is literally the wife of the zookeeper. Takes place in Warsaw, Poland, during the Second World War, during the Nazi occupation of Poland, the invasion, occupation, whatever you want to call it. And basically, she's trying to save people and animals, hide them from the Nazis in Warsaw, in this gigantic zoo. And I use the terminology, she's utterly dominant in her role in this movie. Every second of screen time, she is fantastic. And actually, she gets matched pretty well shot for shot by Daniel Bruhl, who plays a Nazi officer who is very smitten with her and wants to try to use his influence to get in Jessica Chastain's pants, and who wouldn't?
Can't fault the man
Can't fault the man for that. It was an intense film. It's vibrant. It's brutal when it needs to be. Certainly with, again, the girl that we talked about, who basically has a bad run-in with a couple of Nazis, and she's basically shell-shocked for most of the movie.
And then she gets a bun.
Then she gets a bun. It tells an intriguing, true-to-life story, based on a true story, that I've never heard of from the Second World War. So if you're going to do a movie centered in the Second World War, at least give me something story-wise that I've never seen before, and that's great. You can argue that, it kind of beats an old drum narrative-wise, which is the little people can do the biggest things. But it's that's a timeless drum, so, can you ever beat that drum too much? I don't think so. At a rating of 85 out of 100, The Zookeeper's Wife, my number 5 best movie of 2017.
Yeah, first of all, you're in the minority here of people who truly love this movie, and that's cool because you're in the trenches. But I actually like the movie. I wouldn't have watched it if you wouldn't have said I really love this movie. I'm I should probably watch it. I like that it is an original World War II tale that we don't see, so it's kind of nice because you can only mind the Nazis so much, but then if there's an interesting spin on it, or take a tale that maybe we haven't seen so many times, what I mean,
right?
Then that's cool. I saw some criticisms of it that I kind of took offense to. Not
right, but
no, it's just people seem to be bothered by the fact that it was in English. Okay. I would have it would have been cool that if it was in Polish. Mm-hmm. But no one would have watched it. So,
significantly fewer, yeah.
So I was totally cool with that. And then the other thing people are it's there's parts in the story that weren't put into the movie, and I don't remember what those are, but I remember seeing some of them at the time that I was originally writing this note, which was months ago now. Okay. And I agree that those parts would have been neat if they were in the movie, but as I said earlier, it's I don't need it to be this completely non-fiction
right
thing. The story is interesting enough that then you go and you read about it and you know exactly what happened. So my number 5 is one that you didn't see coming, because I'm not sure you know that this was released. And it's a short film.
Ooh.
I gotta do it.
Olaf's Frozen Adventure.
Olaf's Frozen Adventure. So that movie was great.
Oh, God.
Didn't overstay its welcome.
The thing you had to get through to see Coco. Anyways.
But number 5 is World of Tomorrow Episode 2.
Oh!
The Burden of Other People's Thoughts.
Oh, now, no, I didn't know that.
See, World of Tomorrow came out maybe last time we did a video.
I think so.
We did this together. And it was one of my favorite
movies. It was your number 2 movie that year.
Was it number 2?
I think it was really high.
It's so good. It was so good. I got a message one day being yo, I hear you liked World of Tomorrow from my friend. It was yo, I know you liked World of Tomorrow a lot. Do you know he's making a second one? I'm nah. And then I tried to find it thinking it might be out, but it wasn't. Yeah. And then one day, I'm just I wonder if that's out yet. And this was recently, very recently. And I'm World of Tomorrow Episode 2. It's watch now on Vimeo. I'm Word.
Yeah.
So I went in and I actually rented it because that's how I had to do World of Tomorrow as well. I rented
Right.
it on Vimeo and you get it for like a week. It's like Don Hertzfeldt is fucking brilliant. He's such a good like animator and stuff. Even though he uses like a simplistic art style, that I know you've seen some of his stuff. Because I remember in high school we used to watch My Spoon Is Too Big.
Oh God.
Like so he did that, right? So he has
Wow.
this like very he has this very simplistic style. Although he does in World of Tomorrow he does throw in some other stuff that's a little more complicated, but he does keep it fairly simple. What he does is he takes I think it's his niece,
Okay.
and records her talking about stuff, and then builds a narrative around her talking.
Okay.
So her, because she's a character in it, so her character is completely natural because this is literally shit she is saying. So her performance,
Yeah. Spot
because
on.
she's not acting.
You nailed it.
She's not acting. It's mostly just this one character talking to the little girl, and then some shit happens. And I don't know entirely what they're talking about all the time. I just know that it's. I hate reusing the same words, but kind of profound. And while I don't think this is quite as good as the first one, I think that's only because it's like a diminishing returns thing, where it is kind of the same as the first one. But at the same time, it's so fucking good. So good that I watched it. Like it's only like 25 minutes long, but I watched it twice in a row. Just to absorb it more, right? To really get it. So people need to seek out Hertzfeldt in general, but World of Tomorrow, both episodes, because they are so good. And they're funny. Like, they're funny. This one's a little less funny, I think, than the first one, but he works in these great statements about life in general, but then there's, like, these parts that are really, really funny. And, he's always done that. Like, he's made some of the best short films of all time. But these, World of Tomorrow, Episode 2, The Burden of Other People's Thoughts, is the number 5 best movie of the year. But really, since we're in the top 5, I could reshuffle these, and I'd be okay with any of them being number 1.
My number 4 best movie of 2017. If you like Jessica Chastain, you'll like it again. It's Molly's Game. And Molly's Game was like the late one.
The late edition.
That I knew I was going to like it. Because, I mean, I like Jessica Chastain. So I'm like, at the very least, I'm going to like this. I'm like, ooh, Idris Elba's in this movie. Okay. And then I'm like, ooh, Michael Cera's in this movie, basically playing, playing a dickbag, but as far as, like, the actual person that he's playing, allegedly, because I haven't read the book yet, allegedly, it's Tobey Maguire.
What?
It's the story of Molly Bloom. She was an American, like, Olympic-level downhill skier. She gets in an accident. She can't do that anymore. And she kind of gets turned on to poker from this guy that she's working for as a personal assistant. And he runs this sort of high-stakes poker game. And she meets, like, these celebrities who are allegedly Tobey Maguire, Leonardo DiCaprio.
I love how much allegedly is.
Well, that's the thing. It's like
allegedly,
and like because only a few names have actually been revealed, and they were the ones that were revealed in like public court documents. So it's there's no sense in concealing them. Again, her performance is so good in this. She's kinetic. She's driven. And like the person who she's portraying is just like this woman with axes to grind and absolutely demands to be successful. And that's ultimately kind of what she becomes for quite a while, like the actual Molly Bloom. Aaron Sorkin's directorial debut, I don't think we haven't actually mentioned that. He's the screenwriter, but he was also the director, and it's the first feature film that he's gotten to direct. The screenplay for this movie is excellent. Kind of time hops a little bit, which can take some people out of it. Didn't take me out of it at all. I had no problem following along, and the screenplay is really, really excellent. Never detaches the audience from the narrative, which can always be a risk when you're kind of time hopping back and forth. The supporting cast is, again, obviously with the names that I mentioned, very talented. Idris Elba is so good in this movie. Like, he kills. He's her lawyer. He kills in this movie. He is so damn good. And it's given the Hollywood shine because it's not 100% accurate, and some people criticize it for that. But again, if you want 100% accuracy, you have to sort of trust her story on it. Read the book. At a rating of 85 out of 100, Molly's Game is my number 4 best movie of 2017.
I didn't see it. I remember when the trailer came out, we were seeing some movie, as we often do, and you were like, oh shit, yeah, like, I'm pumped for that, and I was just kind of like,
Yeah.
It looks might be good. But I never got it. We couldn't work out seeing it together, so I just told him to go see it, because I knew he was hyped.
Screw you.
My card
You
game
are
of
wrong.
choice is Uno.
There you go. So see, there should be an Uno movie starring
Honestly, I like
Leonardo
cheap.
DiCaprio.
I like cheap. So my number 4 is 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which is a movie that delivers on the title.
Yes.
These are kind of funny how... Because I don't have anything original to say because we've talked about the movie, but isn't it... So I'm kind of just trying to figure out something. Isn't it kind of cool that one of the best movies of the year is one of the most boring titles?
Yeah, it's
3
true.
Billboards Outside Ebbing. I mean, there's an interest to it because it's like, that's an interesting name, but at the same time, it's like 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. It's like...
I don't think them billboards is very fair.
I'll just say this. I've said this in another video when you talked about Martin as best director. I still think that the strength is the writing, not as much the directing. Though the directing is completely fine. The writing is brilliant.
For this movie specifically.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think, and I said this before, but maybe you didn't watch the other videos, I think that Martin and his brother are 2 of the best writers working in movies right now. I always look forward to their shit because... While they both pretty much do the same thing, the black comedy stuff, he did show some new wrinkles because, like, really his other movies, because he did In Bruges and 7 Psychopaths.
Right.
Both great movies, not, like, a lot of, like, heart to them in the sense of, like, there's nothing that emotional in them. It's just, like, they're fun movies, funny, whatever. But this, like, he did add a wrinkle to his game. 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri is my number 4.
Top 3 time, folks. My number 3 best movie of 2017. Hi, Tyler.
Jeez,
it's creepy, isn't it? It's
It's that high. It's that high.
It's that high. I unironically fucking loved this movie, and it took me by surprise how much I wound up loving this movie. And I actually went into it with higher expectations than I felt like I should have. Because I'm like, okay, it's a horror movie. That's a really good marketing campaign. I'm like, oh God, horror movie's gonna do it to me again. I'm almost watching the movie like this. Not because I'm scared, but because I'm scared that it's gonna be garbage. And then I start watching it, I'm like, ooh, like this is really, there's a lot of stuff in here to like. So pretty well all my expectations, despite the fact that they were higher than they should have been, pretty well met and exceeded every single expectation I had for it. The performance from the kids ensemble, really, really good. Special shout out, of course, from me. Special shout out to Sophia Lillis. I thought she was kind of the standout with all of them. And of course, I mean, Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. Yeah. Like, we've talked about it a couple of times, but it's like
easily
just pitch perfect as like that interpretation of Pennywise. So good. The way they utilized the kids' biggest fears in the way Pennywise tortured them, I thought the execution of that was really well done. And like, I want to shout out one part in particular because I think there was like, I read a couple of reviews that seemed to be kind of confused on this point. Like, Sophia Lillis's, her big fear, like she's in the bathroom, right? And the bathroom just fills with blood. And it's like, so is she scared of blood? It's like, no, she's scared of womanhood. It's very clearly that her father's a child molester. So very clearly he has sort of pushed her into that before she's biologically ready to kind of be that person. So I was like, no, that's so like the way that they chose to represent that, really, really well done. I was really interested to see how they were going to represent the preteen orgy that's in the book. And I was like, oh, well, they didn't basically. Yeah, but they represented it with like kind of the blood pact. And I was like, okay.
That's good enough.
I mean, look, I'm not saying I wanted to see that in the movie. I'm just saying, like, I'm like, I wonder how they're going to treat this. And rather than, like, taking the Twilight side of things, where it's like, in one of the Twilight books, Edward just flat out tells Bella to get an abortion. And I was like, ooh, I wonder how they're going to represent this in the film. And they just fucking don't. The imagery in the movie is excellent. The scares, for the most part, are pretty effective. There's a couple of exceptions that's pretty well unavoidable. But shout out to my boy, Andy Machete.
He really understood the 80s.
Yes, absolutely, he did. It was a movie that didn't feel out of time. Like it felt like it was being done the way that it was supposed to, kind of with the with the time frame. And it's an interesting movie tonally and visually. It gives me major hype for the follow-up in 2019. Like, I can't wait for the follow-up to this.
Same.
At a rating of 85 out of 100, it is my number 3 best movie of 2017.
It is one of the best horror movies of the last 15 years. I'm just choosing
I'd say
amount
so.
of years.
No, I'd agree.
I've done no research on this before I spouted it out. But I'm going with it. It's one of the best. Not necessarily the best, just one of the best. Because it was really good. We both agree that it's very, 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 very good. So my number 3 is The Shape of Water. It's such a beautiful movie, visually. Like, I talked a lot about the movie when I gave a nomination, or an award, I guess, to Del Toro for his directing. So I kind of touched on the 2 big things. But, like, this movie's real sad. And because you essentially have this girl that can't speak, except through, like, sign language stuff, so she can't speak, but not, whatever. And then she meets this creature that is being basically tortured and kept in a spot, and they, like, sort of a connection and stuff. And so the off-putting thing for people will be, this is a movie about a romance between human and fish person.
Yeah.
So, like, that's a barrier that some people won't be able to get over, because it's kind of silly. But I was in. I threw myself in there, and Michael Shannon was such a menacing villain, and the relationship between Hawkins and the fish person was so beautiful. And The Shape of Water is the second best movie Del Toro has ever made, and it is one of the best movies of the year.
There you go. My number 2 best movie of 2017. Remember Me. It's Coco. Coco was, oh my god, the emotional roller coaster that was this movie. And again, just came out of nowhere. And when I can look at this movie and say, this movie was every bit as good, if not better, than the movies that last year I gave number 3 and number 1.
Dang.
Which is Zootopia and Kubo and the Two Strings.
It ain't better than Kubo.
I'm not saying...
It's better than Zootopia.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that for sure. Is there much more that I can really say aside from like what we've kind of already said about it? It's like the aesthetic of the movie, the message of the movie, the imagery of the movie, the animation is so good. The story is captivating. The characters are great. It grabs its audience and it takes you on this emotional journey. And I do have to point this out. I saw this movie twice because after this guy and I went and saw it, I contacted my other friend by the name of Sarah, and I was like, we have to go see this movie. And she's like, oh, okay. And so we went and saw it, and she was like, oh my god, that was so amazing. But in 2 showings, there were a combined 8 people paid. So I'm going to say this. Buy this DVD and show it to your kids. Because, like, this is, again, another one of those movies that I think I talked about it in a previous video. It's like, when I have kids, this movie is going to be in my kids' movie library. Because I can enjoy this movie again, a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th time. And I know my kids are going to want it. At a rating of 85 out of 100, Coco is my number 2 best movie of 2017.
My number 2. This is what I've been waiting for the whole time. Blade Runner 2049.
Wow.
That's what I've been waiting for.
Wow.
This entire time.
Okay.
This is the one right here. I was real tired during this movie.
Yeah, you were.
Because it's a late show. I hate late shows because I get up early. I don't like it. I get tired. And I really didn't need a very slow sci-fi movie with the lights out at 9 or so at night. You know, I just didn't need that because I was ready for sleepy time. And so I liked it. I appreciated it coming out for what he said. All the things he said, really, or maybe a lot of the things he said, maybe not all of them because I don't remember everything, that he said was true for me upon first viewing. I watched it from home, which I would have liked to see it again in theater, but I never went to see it again in theater. But I watched it from home, and I fucking love this movie. This movie is so good. Like, it's easily better than the first Blade Runner, and the first Blade Runner is good.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, the Villeneuve love is real.
It's real.
He's so good. Like, I think I can officially say that he is one of the best directors working because we had Sicario, amazing. Arrival, amazing. Blade Runner, amazing. You like Prisoners more than I do, but I will say that it's amazing, even though it doesn't quite hit that level for me. But between the two of us, I think we could do consensus amazing on it. I haven't seen Enemy, but he likes it. I can't sing the praises of the technical side of it. The way like he uses like the emptiness of so many environments, like basically echoes the emptiness of these characters because they really have nothing.
Right.
The way he uses light, like there's no light anywhere really, but then when light shows up, it's like a big deal. The story, where I once thought was kind of shallow and it didn't earn the length, the running time.
Right.
When upon rewatching it, I was like, no, this is fascinating shit. The Jared Leto shit didn't bother me upon a second watch. Like,
good.
Nothing that bothered me the first time bothered me the second time, and then I really started to like I was able to dig deeper, knowing what like the basic plot was that I had already seen. I was able to dig deeper, appreciate the music. It's such an amazing sci-fi movie from like a true auteur, you know? It's so good, and I was real excited when I watched this again because I was hoping, I was like, I hope I really, really like it because Justin thinks that I was like, okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know where it lands in terms of the top 3 for Villeneuve for me. Like, Sicario's number 1. This might be number 2, but Arrival was so good that I'm just kind of like, I don't know.
Good.
I don't know, because Arrival was doing something truly original with sci-fi. This is somewhat original, but it's a story kind of that we've seen before.
I would take this over Arrival by a hair.
I don't know. I think I would too, actually. I think I would. I gotta throw out Deakins, the cinematographer. I said this when I first saw it. It's an unsung hero here because like the cinematography is so important to a movie.
Well,
like this.
yeah.
This is contemplative or intelligent, not boring at all, which I thought it was on the first watch. So yeah, my number 2 is Blade Runner 2049, and I considered number 1.
Wow.
But I was like, the 1 and 2 are just kind of like.
Interesting. That's a legitimate surprise to me. And like now I should have kind of, and again, this is where like once you get into the top 10, it kind of starts to take shape. If I've been thinking about that movie specifically, I'm like, man, he hasn't said Blade Runner yet.
It was a 75 when I first saw it, and and I don't even have that many 80s in my honorable mention, so it wouldn't have actually made it.
But you see what I mean with give a movie a second chance? We're actually in a situation here where like, first of all, look, it's time for the number 1s. And this is obviously the most important pick of the year. It's the number 1, our favorite movie of 2017 for each of us. And it's a rare instance where we kind of know, I think every time that we've done this, by the time we get to number 1, we know what it is. And in certain instances, like, I remember one year very famously, he was disgusted with me.
Yes.
With what my number 1
Force
was.
Awakens.
Because I picked Force Awakens
over
Compton.
And I know how much you love your number 1,
So my number 1 best movie of 2017 is War for the Planet of the Apes. And obviously, look, I've talked so much about how much I love this trilogy. And even though Matt Reeves hasn't done all of them, he's done the most recent 2. And I looked it up, it was Rupert Wyatt that did the first one. it still feels like it's Matt Reeves' baby. Like it's just because I mean he took it over after the first one, which I'm not really sure why, because the first one I thought was excellent.
Yeah, it was.
So I'm kind of surprised
smaller.
that it must.
Because it was like the origin.
Right. It must have been a directorial. Like it must have been Rupert Wyatt's choice. He's like, I don't really want to do this again. So then Matt Reeves took it over and made it better. And there are some criticisms to it. Like there's some criticisms to the movie. One of which being the ending is like some people criticize the ending as melodramatic.
What was it? Oh,
when they finally get to the Oasis and then Caesar dies.
Nah, fuck them. Who does not melodramatic?
It's not, and like I can understand where that comes from.
It's a well-earned death.
Exactly. Another criticism I saw is like the humans are always portrayed as like irredeemably evil assholes, except for the mute girl, except for Nova. And yeah, that's kind of the point of the trilogy, is that humans are no longer the top of the food chain, and they're really butthurt about it, and they basically start a war, and that's the whole point of the trilogy. So if you're going to criticize the trilogy on what the point of it is, or what part of the point of it is, I guess you're right, but it's kind of a weird thing to criticize.
People see things like this, right? And I understand, but they see things like this, and they see that the humans are shitheads, or at least the leaders are shitheads. Some of the soldiers are just kind of doing their job.
Right.
But, like, the leaders are shitheads, and they see that, and they go, this movie is saying all humans are shitheads. Like, it's not saying that. It's saying this group of people are shitheads.
Yeah.
It's not saying every human is a shithead. Like, it's because people read so much into things like that, right?
But it's not like it's the apes' fault.
Yeah.
They weren't the ones screwing with science. Humans screwed humans. It's one of these things where it takes something very special for me to say, I will miss this. Like, I miss Lord of the Rings. I miss Star Trek The Next Generation, even though you can go back and watch these things, obviously. I even miss Harry Potter, even though Rings is greater than Potter and always will be. I will miss, like, this is a void in my cinematic enjoyment in the future. I will miss this. I will miss this so much, actually. At a rating of 90 out of 100, because I mean, I've already talked about it so much. At a rating of 90 out of 100, War for the Planet of the Apes is my #1 best movie of 2017.
Now my #1,
Matt Reeves is a genius.
The one that matters.
Exactly. This is what we're capping this part of it. Like we're like the top. Like it's almost over, and I'm getting emotional about it. But this is the capper of the whole list. Give it to him, Tyler.
All right.
Give it to him.
My #1 is Logan.
Yeah, it is.
It's Logan, and it's been Logan since like February.
Yeah, like March when the movie came out.
March or whatever it is. Look, here's the thing about Logan. Logan is
fucking incredible.
It's fucking incredible. Done. See ya. Logan succeeds so well in every single way. You have my best actress, Daphne Keane. You had 2 performances that I considered for awards in the best actor. Obviously, you have Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman. Patrick Stewart probably more so, but I mean, fucking Jackman was a beast like usual. It suffers a little from the villain not necessarily being amazing, but it was still fine. Like, I had no issue with it. I considered James Mangold for best director, but I ultimately was like, I don't really want Logan to like win everything. So, but he's totally deserving because the way he handled everything, got the performances out of all these people, and the way it looks more like a Western than like it's probably the most adult superhero movie we've ever had. It's so heart-wrenching. It's very violent. Music is great. Cinematography is on point. I watched this movie twice. I watched the black and white version they released, which really doesn't have that much. But I figured I'm going to watch it again. So why don't I do it this way this time? See if it adds anything. There are a couple scenes that look cool in black and white, but ultimately I'm kind of like, why would you bother? Yeah, Logan. Logan.
Yeah, Logan. Yeah, I didn't actually clue in to what your number one was going to be until about, well, actually, when you were talking about your number two.
Yeah, I wrestled with Logan as my favorite movie all year. Like, we'd hang out, and every once in a while I'd be like, I think Logan might still be it.
Yeah.
And it is.
That ending is so perfect,
Yeah,
and
she turns it over to an X.
yeah, and then it's of course like it's of course leading into, you know, the New Mutants, and let's see where that's gonna go, and that looks like it's gonna be.
I think it'll be fun. I don't think I'll like it as much as Logan.
I mean, just like Patrick Stewart's death.
Yeah.
Is like he's giving this eloquent soliloquy.
Yeah.
Like, cause it's fucking Patrick Stewart, so of course he is. And like he's just given this thing, and then he just turns him over, and you can, and like I'm watching it, and I'm like, yo, that's not Logan.
Oh shit.
And then he does this, and I'm like, oh my, no, and I'm like, no. Oh my god, it's so, yeah, that movie's, oh, that has some great moments.
The only thing that was like jarring in the movie when I watched it first, but I got over it and I just accepted it, was weird to hear the swearing. Our picks are not the most exciting picks for each other because we kind of knew.
Yeah, it's true, but look, who's talking about Logan as the best movie of the year? You. Who's talking about apes? Me.
Yeah,
that's it.
True.
So it's like, you know what? We do it for you, and those are our top 30 best movies of 2017. So, folks, we're at the point where we've given you almost as much as we can give you in these videos. We've given you our top 30 best movies of the year. We gave you your fan-voted best movies of the year. We gave you an impromptu half-hour-long Star Wars talk that was not planned in the least. So what more could we possibly give you? Let's give you a hook for next year, which is actually this year, but shut up. So this is the way we're going to close the awards, is we are going to drop dime on our top 5 most anticipated movies for 2018. The caveat to this being, in no way, shape, or form is the entire movie lineup for 2018 announced.
Like, this could change.
Absolutely.
Once we see trailers, once movies get like that we didn't necessarily know anything about. Like, this was not a deep dive for either of us. This is just like, here's the top 5. This is a pretty quick pick.
Exactly. I gave some consideration to something like Isle of Dogs.
Yep.
You Were Never Really Here, which is based on a novella starring Joaquin Phoenix, I think.
That was in my...
The next X-Men movie, where we finally get Dark Phoenix.
I'm not that excited because they're so up and down.
It's true. No, yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
No, I don't know how to feel about that one.
And I certainly gave some consideration as well to the sequel to Creed, which I'm pretty sure is going to be in his list because he loves him some Creed. But my top 5 most anticipated movies for 2018 look like this. And we're going to go from number 5 to number 1. Number 5 is Mortal Engines, which is a Peter Jackson-led New Zealand kind of steampunk sci-fi where cities are literally on wheels.
Is that what Peter Jackson's doing?
That's what Peter Jackson's doing next, and I'm on board for that shit because I love Peter Jackson. My number 4, Super Troopers 2, and I shouldn't have to explain why. I can't wait for April 20th, 420, nooch.
I feel like it'll let you down.
I feel like it's going to let me down big time, but I don't care. I'm so mad.
I'm excited.
I think Super Troopers is up there with Spaceballs as the two of the funniest movies of all time. And my number 3, my number 2, and my number 1 are all comic book movies, because that's just the age that we live in. My number 3 is Black Panther, which I don't have to wait too much longer for. My number 2 is Avengers Infinity War, and my number 1 is Deadpool 2.
All right. So here's mine. I don't really have any honors. I have a whole list of honorable mentions, but he said a couple of them, so that's fine.
Yep.
That's good. That's good for me. So my number 5 is The Purge: The Island. Because, like, I think the first Purge was okay as, like, a horror movie, but it wasn't amazing. But then once they kind of just accepted this, like, over-the-top action movie with a character that's kind of the Punisher, and it became like kind of like an Escape from New York meets The Warriors, I was on board because they're no longer really horror movies. They're just like these fun.
Oh yeah, they're not horror movies anymore at all.
So ever since for 2 and 3 they did that, I've been on board in a big bad way.
Yeah.
And The Island is like a prequel. Number 4, is Creed 2, which would normally be higher. But, like, I'm not sure about this one. Like, I'm a Rocky fanatic. But I'm not sure about this one in the same way I wasn't really sure about Creed. Because I'm like, do I really care about Apollo Creed's son?
Right.
But then that movie ended up being really good. And when I'm hearing about this one, I'm thinking this could be fun. But I'm not quite as excited yet for it. Because I'm just not sure what this one's going to give me. But it's still Rocky, so in my heart, I'm pumped.
And I like the fact, like, the hook for me is that he's fighting Drago's son.
Yeah, so that's, like, interesting. I gotta... But it's not, like, it's not Coogler directing it again. I don't even really know who the director is. Like, what brought me around with Creed was Ryan Coogler's so good. Now he's doing Black Panther, so that'll probably be really good.
So we're okay with that.
Yeah, that's fine. Number 3, Avengers Infinity War, because that shit's cray-cray. Number 2, which would be my number 1, which would make us a consensus number 1, in any other year would be Deadpool 2.
Right.
I have a Deadpool hat on him. He's one of my favorite superheroes.
He's kind of a fan.
So Deadpool 2, and he would be number 1, except my number 1 would be The Beach Bum, the new movie by Harmony Korine, if it gets released. I'm not convinced it's coming out this year, but I'm shooting for it, and I wouldn't even normally be excited for this movie, judging from the premise, but Korine's behind it. Because, like, Spring Breakers didn't sound that interesting. But then you see it, and it's like, holy shit. So, like, Korine is he will always be my most anticipated movie if he's releasing a movie.
Here we are. We're at the end. That song from the end of Lord of the Rings Return of the King is just going to start playing Annie Lennox Into the West as we get on the boat and sail off to the afterlife. Ladies and gentlemen, my pen's excited, but that's it. The awards are done, and what a journey it's been. And thank you so much for joining us for another year. We love doing this. We love sitting down at the end of the year and going, okay, let's do it. And part of it is the anticipation of, because I mean, we think about things in context of the awards pretty well all year round. Like, I mean, we've started thinking about, like, what are we going to do for next year that's going to, like, how are we going to change anything up for next year? Are we doing the format the exact same? We're not sure yet exactly about the way it's going to go in practice, but we're very excited about what we're going to be bringing you in the future. You know, it's, like I say, the awards is just something that we love doing, and I love doing every year, whether I've had to do it solo or I've had to do it with this guy. It's always more fun to be doing it as a duo. It's always nice to have that second voice in there. It's nice to have disagreements. It's nice to say, like, man, I can't, like, man, you put that high, or you put that low, or that moment of, oh my God, Blade Runner was your second favorite movie of the year? Holy shit. So you don't get those moments when you're doing it individually. You get that little moment with yourself, but you get that as you're compiling your own list. Yeah. So it's like, it's not at all the same. But thank you folks so much. If you've watched every second of these videos, kudos, because that's a lot of talking. Hopefully you've just been able to kind of put it on in the background or whatnot. But yeah, what's not. But yeah, thank you guys again so much for whatever little modicum of support you've given us, and I will take this opportunity to officially declare the 2017 Bridgewater's Finest Movie Awards closed.